Hello and welcome to New Wave Global. You're watching Unraveled, where we delve deep into the stories shaping our world and their broader implications. I'm your host, Marvi Sirmed, and today we turn our focus to Sri Lanka, a nation that has just experienced a seismic political shift. In a snap parliamentary elections, the left leaning coalition, the National People's Power NPP, achieved a historic victory, capturing the imagination of a populace yearning for change. But what does this win mean for Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka's democracy, its economy, and its place in the region? How did this coalition manage to unify a deeply divided electorate? And what challenges lie ahead for their ambitious reforms agenda? To help us dissect these questions and explore the nuances of this pivotal election, I am delighted to welcome Sulochana Ramiah Mohan, the Deputy Editor at Ceylon Today. Welcome to the show, Sulochana, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Marvi. It's a pleasure to be with you right now. Tell me what we can discuss.
Thanks and congratulations for the elections and peaceful holding of elections and the new government.
Yes, indeed, it was a really a good election, and what people anticipated was fulfilled.
See? So let's just start with the basic question.
Mhm.
The victory of NPP, and what do you think were the factors that contributed to NPP's overwhelming success in these elections?
Uh, let us talk a little bit about the Sri Lankan political scenario,
Yeah.
which has been for the last, say, we don't want to go way back in the 80s, but in the last 15 to 20 years,
Mm.
there was this whole thing called the LTT, the what do you call uh, the killing of Prabhakaran, and then eradicating the terrorist movement, which the government says. After that, things changed to be like a total new Sri Lanka. They said we thought. Many thought, because most of the family lost their loved ones in both sides, in Tamil sides as well as from the majority community of Sri Lanka. So even in the Muslim community, many died in bomb blasts and all that. And when that terrorism was eradicated in 2009,
Mhm.
the people's anticipation was very high, because 30 years of war, there was no development, nobody could come here, there were no fishing, our seas were all basically barricaded, nobody could go to fish, everything was barred in this country. So when this whole terrorism was wiped out, as the government said, people's hopes and anticipations were very high, at high level. And when that happened, and then the person who eradicated the terrorism or killed the leader of the LTT or Tamil Tigers was venerated. He was highly honored, and he was basically treated as a savior of this country. So there comes power. When this happened, people really liked him more than anyone else. So the entire family, called the Rajapaksa family, took the entire credit of eradicating the terrorism. And with that, hope came, and he also wanted to develop. Actually, he genuinely wanted to develop the country. He approached many countries after the war ended. He wanted China, he wanted India, he wanted many countries, whomever helped Sri Lanka to eradicate the Tamil Tigers. He expected them to come and do a lot of development projects, age old, the whole system collapsed, the industries collapsed. So he wanted many people, many countries, and delegates to come and develop this country. That with that, he began to approach India and also China. Everybody came. I don't want to go into deeper into geopolitics as to who came and what did they do. But when all these people started coming in, he just threw his weight around, gave all these development projects to countries, and there comes absolute power as well, because he won the election quite in a big margin, and there was nobody to compete the Rajapaksas. And there comes Tim, his brothers, his son, Mahinda Rajapaksa's son, his nephews, relatives, far and near, everybody given big positions in the government. And with that, after first term ended, again he won. But second term was more an absolute power corrupts. We already know that. So with that comes a lot of moments that people started to realize 10 years of his success. And then there comes a lot of controversial dealings and corrupt dealings and family nepotism. All this started to mount. When people then the whole eradicating of the terrorism, and then
Mm.
that he being venerated. And then we saw his wealth getting accumulated in his family. They started to tour around the world. They were spending a lot from the taxpayers' money. So these things were basically coming to know. People started to realize, well, now this is too much, and but nobody dared talk against them because he won the war. So this
Mm.
was going on for a while, and then the corruption, everything was highlighted. Murders took place under his regime. So many journalists disappeared and killed. So with all this, and then he made for second term, he made his brother the uh, secretary to the Ministry of Defense. So there comes another power who challenged the world about allegations of war crimes. He stood by the military people, and
Mm.
so there were a lot of agitation from the northern part of Sri Lanka where the Tamils were. They were
Mm.
waiting to see whether this whole war scenario, how it ended. Then they put a strong objection to the memorialization of the victims. So these things, so from all community, things started to become very, very sour. And then at that time, this particular government at that time didn't have NPP, but they were called the JVPs,
Mm.
Janata Vimukti Peramune. They were once upon a time the people who also fought against the state for reasons best known. If you want to Google search about JVP's
Right, right.
background, you will know what they were.
Mm.
So, but they were not very much connected to the people because, like the Tamil community had this LTT fear, there was also a fear among the majority people from villages where the JVPs had killed many people. So they were not very much accepted, though they came to mainstream democratic way to contest and have
Yeah.
few MPs in the parliament. They were not recognized that much. But with this imbalanced political scenario in Sri Lanka, where one majority party of Mahinda Rajapaksa gaining power and lots of allegations against him, his family, there was nobody to challenge. At that time, this particular president at that time was an MP too. He started to voice a lot in the parliament. But anyway, it was not recognized that much. But
Mm.
then things became worse in 2022. And that also with the Easter Sunday bombings and then the allegations over that, even that you would know, we want to precisely search what happened during the Easter Sunday
Yes,
attacks
yes.
and how it happened. So there were a lot of allegations against that same family and their cohorts or their henchmen, they said, and they are all close associations with certain big powers. So
Mm.
when all this happened, this little person called, what do you call, his name is Anura Kumara Dissanayake, gained
Danai.
momentum. He gained momentum, and then we came to a full scale protest in the country when people could not tolerate anymore on the financial crisis, the corruption, and the level of people, public being
Yeah.
treated with no fertilizer, all sort of things happened. And
Mm.
then with that, there was a huge protest in the country, and that we call it Aragalaya. And then we wanted to get rid of the president, again, the former president, Mahinda Rajapaksa's brother, who was the secretary to the Ministry of Defense, who became the president and with full power. And then things collapsed when the financial instability grew,
Mm.
and the country's political stability also sort of nosediving. And then they realized this man is not the quite a leader, and he also failed to settle many
Mm.
of the international debts. Probably not we can't blame him, but they didn't have a proper plan. So
Hmm.
when all that collapsed and then it hit the people, not them, when the entire system collapsed,
Hmm.
it was the people who suffered. And then there was no fuel, there was no transport, no jobs. COVID hit community again,
And very
fell
difficult
deeply into
situation.
trouble.
Yeah.
And then this minor Anura Kumara Dissanayake, people like his supporters and many, even without any apolitical people, all came to the street and got rid of that regime. And
Yeah.
then comes
And
Anura Kumara Dissanayake with a strong mandate like thing. He started talking a lot to the
yeah, it's
people,
very,
saying
yeah,
it's the
it's
time that we
yes,
take over and all that. From
that's right.
2022, he was building up his image, he was grooming himself, he was talking to many of the diplomats coming to Sri Lanka. So everybody knew we are looking for a total change.
Yes,
We want to
yes,
get rid
Sulochana,
of
you're right.
everyone.
Yes, you're right. This is a very detailed scenario that you have
Yes,
explained, and thank you very much. And it's a, I think our viewers are in a better position now to understand what has actually
yes.
happened. And
Hmm.
but you see, the NPP, as you have also explained, s- has been able to develop a significant, you know, uh, public support especially over last 2 years. It has another stunning thing is it has made significant inroads in traditionally Tamil majority districts, and the defeat of almost the defeat of the Tamil nationalist parties. The NPP has, I think, over almost two-third majority. What
Yes.
does this signal for the ethnic relations and reconciliation efforts in Sri Lanka?
Well, when you talk about the Tamil community in the north and east, they were
Hmm.
also Sri Lankans, so they were also frustrated. They also didn't have fuel. They also faced the same problem, but in a different scale, because there again they had a war. They've been through a lot in their lives, and
Hmm.
their suffocation or the understanding about how they could get along with the southern part of the country was also a struggling moment. But the Tamil politicians, again, they are minority community politicians. They don't have a mandate. They are just always in the opposition. So they also can't do much. There is no point in fighting against the system or fighting against the majority to gain some benefits or some good livelihood or some upliftment in their lives could not be done with the minority party, minority politicians, unless they join the majority and come to a collective understanding, and then go forward with a like-minded understanding about how things should be worked with the northern people. So whereas they also let down, it was a moment that they also thought that this Rajapaksas, anyway, they felt he was an enemy because he eradicated terrorism. But again, you would know that for a person which is terrorism for another person, it's a freedom fighting. Okay, so like those conflicting thoughts they are still in the northern province with the Tamil community mainly. They are not gone to. They will not. Many people will not say that that was terrorists. That the Tamils were the terrorists. They will never accept that kind of statement or remark. So now it came when Anura Kumara Dissanayake came into power. They
Hmm.
also, like any other Sri Lankans would want, like me also, like I'm a Tamil too. We all wanted this basic change, nothing much. You just want to let the people live a good life. So they also decided that they will support Anura Kumar, and he just had, it was a cakewalk for him, because they also could, the youth who saw the war, or while the war was going on, the children who were in their 10 years or 11 years are now youth. So they don't have much of the impact of the war directly. So the younger generation really saw Anura Kumar to be a good friend. They also think that he also fought a kind of a war against the state, like the Tamils also fought against the
Yeah, we
state.
do,
So,
absolutely. We do understand why they would have supported Dissanayake, but now that people overwhelmingly have supported Dissanayake, the question is, and since the traditional Tamil nationalist parties are,
mhm.
have been defeated, have been rejected by people. What is the road ahead for the ethnic relations? How will they pan out now? Will Dissanayake be able to bridge the, differences, the ethnic and religious differences that exist in the communities in Sri Lanka?
That's what I said. The minority politicians or the Tamil politicians can't do much for its community because they are always in the opposition. They are always the minority politicians. They don't have that much of power to do anything. However, they wanted a change. They thought basically this is what my understanding, and when I speak to many people, they thought that Anura Kumara will understand their plight as an ordinary common man. He was also from the village. He also fought against the state, so he would understand the necessity of reconciliation,
Yeah.
having a very good bridging the gap. So they placed a simple faith
Yeah, they
or trust
place their
in him.
trust in him.
You
They
just
will,
would do it because you have no alternatives. You see, you don't have alternatives from any corner. So they could relate to him better because one is he's young. The other thing is that the war is over and it is almost 15 years later. And people decided now probably through him there can be some new ways of approaching. So they overall showed it, expressed
yeah,
their willingness to
they expressed
combine
and
with the southern
absolutely.
people.
So
So
people have
it's a
given
good
their verdict,
signature.
and now things look good for the ethnic
Things
relation.
look good, but
Yeah,
it's a honeymoon period. Still, I would not say, Marvi, that everything is going fine
yeah.
here. It's a honeymoon period, so we
Mm,
are just watching how things would change. How will the corruption be eradicated? Because these are all interlinked. They are all connected
absolutely.
to humans' well-being. So when
Yeah.
you eradicate, like eradicating terrorism, is eradicating corruption, eradicating lots of other unnecessary, nefarious activities in the country will reduce a lot of trouble and pain, or the burden on the people. So
Absolutely.
this
Very important.
anticipation is very
Yeah.
common among all
Yeah.
the communities. You cannot say it for Tamils and Sinhalese and Muslims and Burghers. It's the
For
same
everyone.
feeling. This first time
Yeah.
I saw. And also, it should be told that this is the first time no politician got onto the stage and spoke on terms of racism or ethnicity or religious matters. This didn't come out because we were tired. We were basically tired talking about this. This is what was happening in the last 20 years. So I think people have come out of this whole what do you call antics of
And now they are
how they
watching
have become.
carefully. And now they are watching carefully what happens
They are
now.
watching. They're very
Which that gives
moderate
us,
people.
yeah, that provides us a segue to my next question,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
that, now that people have given him not just the Dissanayake, but in the parliamentary election, NPP, the two-third
Hmm.
majority. And this is
Yes.
a mandate for sweeping reforms, which
Mm.
we, as
Yes.
I've said, repeatedly said.
Yes.
I think people are actually clamoring for change. People are clamoring for reforms. So,
Yes.
what do you think are the immediate priorities for this new government?
When you see his manifesto, this new government's manifesto, it says it to tackle many of the questions people have, not any community, but overall what the people have in their mind. They said they will attend to it. So the current need is actually. See, last government under Ranil Wickramasinghe also they wanted first to get rid of corruption because this corruption has got us into such deep trouble. But he didn't deliver it, and he was trying. Not that I will not say that Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe didn't, but he wanted to do it in a legitimate way. Have these reforms, amended laws brought into, so the justice system will take care of the culprits and things like that. But people wanted quick answers. That's why the whole protest took place because of that. So first thing is that they wanted to identify the corrupt and punish them, and so that they don't continue to do under any regime. So I think that is happening in sort of we are seeing a lot of changes. That is bringing a lot of many people have been identified and brought to the bribery commission. So this is going because you cannot perform a magic overnight. I mean this crisis or the financial crisis, a long term the corruption took place for not just 10 or 15 years. It has been going for decades. So you cannot eradicate and bring everybody to books, not overnight. So that's what I said. As I said, it's a honeymoon period. We are just watching what this government is doing. There are ups and downs. People are criticizing now and then, but as you and I know, politics is not easy. You can promise something, but you cannot deliver it immediately. So
Absolutely.
this just living in hopes that
Yeah.
we are anticipating that in the months next year or so, we will see a lot of change. And first, they will reduce the burden of the people, the financial burden actually, and the cost of living, and give a chance for people to breathe. This is what they want. And so far, what we see is not a major change in anything, but we are looking towards those lines, looking on those lines, whether this will be implemented and given some solace to the people.
Yes, and I believe NPP has already given its first 100 days agenda, has it?
Mhm. First 100 day agenda is not really uh,
Out yet.
not yet out. I don't see any major changes, but they graduate. It's not easy also. No, it's not easy because this is a deep rooted problems in this country. You cannot overnight point your finger and say this is what we have to do. This is what we can do. But looks like first they want to keep a system that is clean,
Hmm.
a system where public will not be pushed to from pillar to post to get their work done. So they are setting up all those institutions and institutionalize the system so that the public can approach. So maybe in some next year onwards, we will see a major change in. And those lines again, I would like to say that, and we'll anticipate a lot of promises. So we'll see. It's again a honeymoon period.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at the various statements of the newly, appointed ministers
Mhm.
and the president, one can see that the first and foremost agenda items for this government are anti-corruption and eradication of the corruption and economic
Mhm.
recovery, and rest of that falls underneath these bigger
Yes, yes,
umbrellas. So also, Sulochana, this
mm,
election saw a record number of women entering parliament. I believe the first time, the significant number, 21 women have been elected.
yes, 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 sir.
And this is huge. It is
Mhm.
significant for, and you know how significant this is for Sri Lanka's political culture and policy making. And what role do you see these women playing in shaping the reforms under this new government?
This NPP government they are very good strategists. They
Mm,
saw what is not in place. They saw what is not in the system. So
mm,
they went on those lines. First is this women representation, and from the beginning, from 2022, we saw him addressing the women population. We saw a lot of gatherings where women were involved, given them some leadership, and they were good talkers. They could really express about the country's status quo. So they did a very good job from 2022 onwards. And when this election campaign came, we saw a lot of women getting onto the stage of this new government to say what should be done, and they were good speakers. So we saw this whole new era of women expressing their views in a larger scale.
mm,
So, so they did the right thing by giving what do you call candidacy to contest, and
mm,
with Anura Dissanayake like a younger president, young and who can articulate very well. So comes the young women who can articulate very well. So they are all on board now. So we have seen the first stage they have passed, and they could articulate and they could speak and they express all what they should for women, what what can be done to the youth and to the country. So now they have all articulated and they went to the parliament. So now is the time for them in parliament, as they articulate and express their views and do politics and be part of the parliament delegation going overseas or wherever they're going. They will be learning a lot, but we will want to see maybe practically what they could do, whether they have a good vision. Those things will be tested during maybe in coming years.
Yeah.
So we are also again anticipating that this much of women coming to parliament is sounding very good, and Prime Minister being a very educated lady. We see that they are very
And
simple. They are
is
very
the first
simple.
female prime minister in 24 years, I believe.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
a very well educated lady. She's simple. So these are the things that can relate to people. You if you are too high profile, VIP kind of distance yourself from the public, then
Mm,
you can't relate. So now we see that everybody could relate to this government. So we again hope, we are just hoping only, ma. We have not seen any major outcome. So the
mm,
Parliament 21 for women have gone there. Parliament, the cabinet ministry is a small group. All that is pretty good. When there are so many luxury vehicles were there with the former government officials, now they have taken all of them and they are going to auction them. So people are thinking, okay, now this is good.
yeah.
So things are good.
Uh,
Simply say,
yeah, I will hope they remain good and they become better with the passage of
yes.
time. So how this this victory, what does this mean for Sri Lanka's relations with key regional powers, especially in the context of its debt diplomacy with China and India? Traditionally, Sri Lanka has been able to fantastically manage, a balance of its relations with regional rival powers like China and India, India and Pakistan. What do you think this trajectory is going in the next few years?
I would say that now in the past, with the former regimes, we have seen the things happening in Sri Lanka. We saw a powerful Chinese presence here, a powerful Indian presence here, and then we also see a very good, powerful presence of the US and they are Japan as well. So they have contributed a lot to this country, but sometimes this has gone offhand, in the sense we have seen in my own understanding, or in my own context, I would say we have seen so many warships coming, submarines coming. They're coming because Sri Lanka is strategically positioned. So we see a lot of importance given to the country. So what are we going to do about it? Now we see that there is a lot of demand for this country. So we have, how we played in the past is sort of working against one another, or pendulum movement. We work with them and then we again move to China, then again move to shift to India. So this pendulum movement sort of gave everybody, made everyone uneasy. India felt uneasy, China felt uneasy, Japan felt uneasy. So these are all lessons probably this new government will look into, and they would play a fair deal. So when I spoke to the foreign minister, who was before the elections, is now the foreign minister, but he said we don't want to upset the apple cart. We would want to work with everyone equally, given everybody a good chance to promote Sri Lanka, to develop Sri Lanka. But they'll be very cautious with the countries because they don't want any rivalry, or Sri Lanka to become a battleground for outsiders, because it is irrelevant to us, because we are an island nation, we are a dependent country, we are interdependent, we are dependent on all these donor countries. So you have to be very carefully choose your the game. You have to be like the Americans always said, you have a level playing field. That means they were also upset that everybody was not equally treated in this country. They wanted all the donor countries to work together, have the same IMF deals, all of them to agree. So there were a lot of confusion and conflict. So from those past incidents or past events, probably will be an eye opener for this government, and they will have to play a better role, a better foreign policy. The foreign policy is not yet clear. As for me, my understanding, it has to come out very neatly and clearly to say what they are going to do. I don't know how they're going to handle India, because he's going on a tour to India to meet the prime minister, and also he's going to China here. So again, the same thing. You have to go here, you have to go there. If you go to China, you have to go to India. So it's good because they are all part of the parcel of the development donors. So we have to be working with them. So how they are going to not to be tilt onto one side, it will be known. We will immediately we can see the reactions. So I understand that this government will learn from all the past happenings and play a better role in shaping up its foreign policy, and also to embrace all the countries,
Yeah.
not to be taking any sides, and
Any side.
embrace everyone and give a fair deal and a win-win situation. Uh, uh,
Absolutely.
Things like that to happen in the
Absolutely.
in
So
the years come.
my last question, Sulochana, would be, uh, what could do you think this leftist win in Sri Lanka could become a wave and could inspire similar political movements in the rest of South Asian countries?
Marvi, though we are saying it's a leftist party and Leninist and Marxist and all those brands which
Hmm.
they have not fully executed or sort of expressed that views. Because
Hmm.
when I spoke to many of these geopolitical experts, they say such kind of a left is far left and communism sort of ideologies cannot exist in this part of the world or in South Asia, because South Asia has a traditional way of doing politics. They have their traditional partners, like Maldives don't think like that. India also doesn't think like that. So out of the blue, a small.
Indian South, we see, the communist regimes.
Yeah, but it has always been there, but not making major ruckus there. So we don't see that. They are developing, and then it's part of India, and it has not impacted anyone else.
Might not be
But
bad, but in states like Kerala, etc., their performance has been superb. I mean,
they are super.
human
They are not
development
going
indicators
extremes. They are
are
not.
quite stunning.
Yeah, but they are never gone against the system, or they are not gone far left and trying to prove a point. They are all developing their country within the framework, within the Indian framework. Okay.
Yeah.
Likewise, Sri Lanka is as an island country, as to establish itself, not to what do you call be that having that ideology continue. I think what I learned was that in the last 2 or 3 years, Anura Kumara Dissanayake had met all the Western diplomats, all the diplomats from the Western world as well
Hmm.
as from the East, and he has met everyone, and everybody sort of has groomed him. So far, he has been very balanced. He has
Yeah.
not expressed any of those kind of extreme ideologies. I don't know how it's going to be later on, but
Hmm.
so far so good, and he's been very neutral and
So
very
far, so
balanced.
good is
And
a very, is a very good, good way of summing it up. So
yeah,
thank
I
you
cannot
very much,
say
Sulochana.
anything
I'll
when
have
it's
to leave
nothing
it
has
here.
happened.
Yeah, I'll have to leave it here, but I think your discussion, your answers have been enlightening for our viewers, and our viewers must have learned many things about the political landscape in Sri Lanka. And we hope that the people's hopes in Sri Lanka are, they are fulfilled. And as you said, so far so good, and it remains good. It becomes better. Thank you
Yes.
very much, and have a good night, viewers. Please do not forget to subscribe our channel and share the video if you like it. Have a good
Thank you, Marvi. It's my pleasure to be with you. It's interesting to talk about these subjects because these matter, because we are all in a global village.
absolutely.
It impacts everyone. So let's hope for the best, and bye and good night.
Thank you.